It's been 15 years. I caught myself doing the math a few weeks ago and I realized that 2024 will be my 15th year in the sport of triathlon. And I'm excited to continue the journey, but I'm also excited to share how the heck I got started in this crazy sport. So it actually all started with me actually trying to get in shape, which is kind of a typical path a lot of newbie triathletes will take. I had recently bought a road bike and I was enjoying it. I was enjoying getting out, riding the bike, but I needed something more and I wanted to incorporate some type of consistent training, some type of plan that also included the road bike so that I could have some goals to achieve, something to set myself up to succeed. Now, at this point in my life, I was quite a bit heavier than my current days and I wanted to lose some weight first and foremost. And so to do that, I knew that I needed to stay active. I knew that I needed to find something that would keep me motivated and keep me driven. As I was perusing the internet one night, I was looking for something that incorporated the road bike, and then I came across triathlon. And I was familiar with triathlon. Of course, I'd seen a few Ironman documentaries in my lifetime and thought, oh, that'd be cool to do one day. Well, the one day was staring me in the face because I found a training plan that was 12 weeks long to do a sprint triathlon. So I wanted to get started right then and right there. And I was like, okay, the training's gonna start 2 days from now and I'm gonna find a race 12 weeks out. So I started looking for races in the area 12 weeks from that day. And I found 2 or 3. And so how did I pick my first race? Well, it was easy. I was not a runner, never been a runner, and I picked the race based on the shortest run distance, that being the Rookie Tri in New Braunfels, Texas on May 10th, 2009. It had a 2-mile run, but little did I know this was the Texas hill country, and there were gonna be hills on the run and hills on the bike. And growing up on the Texas coast, well, there just really aren't hills to train on. So I had a bit of a dose of reality that I had to accept. And here was my first triathlon on the hills of Central Texas. So how exactly did that first race go? Well, it definitely was not easy. In fact, I think I said when I crossed the finish line, that was probably the hardest thing I had ever done physically in my life. But in the journey to get to that start line and eventually that finish line, I lost 20 pounds and I was instantly hooked. I loved the structure, I loved the routine, and even though it was tough, even though it was hilly, even though the swim was the most awful thing that I can recall, I was hooked and I knew I wanted to keep doing triathlon in my life. The great thing about the internet is that my race report from that very first triathlon lives on. It's out there somewhere, but I'll save you the trouble in searching and I'm gonna read some excerpts from my first triathlon 15 years ago. So that triathlon was on May 10th. It was in New Braunfels, Texas. It was based at the Texas Ski Ranch. And if anybody has ever done a triathlon at the Texas Ski Ranch, you know that water is awful. It was not my first open water swim, but it was probably my second open water swim. And the swimmer in me was very humbled to be coming out of the water much, much slower than I expected. So how did the day get started? Well, I woke up at 4:15 a.m. My breakfast was 2 hard-boiled eggs, grapefruit, and grapefruit juice. Safe to say I've learned a lot since then. Arrived at the venue at 5:45, body marked, which is kind of a thing of the past now, right? Set up transition. I was able to take my time in transition. I gave myself plenty of time, didn't have to rush, and I wasn't stressed. Did a little bit of light stretching. They also allowed us to do a warm-up swim, and evidently I did about a 100-yard swim to get the feel for the open water, but didn't quite get the feel I really needed. Here's the swim. Started near the front of the wave. Some swimmers caught up and passed me, but I also did my share of passing. Not sure if I would start in the front at the next open water swim. I got blocked coming out of the swim by a couple of swimmers from the 25 to 29-year-old age group. Probably cost me at least 30 seconds. Maybe I'm exaggerating there. I'm pleased with my sighting, although I never got comfortable swimming with my head down. What would I do differently? Not start out so fast. I used up a lot of energy early, and that made for a rough return back. Now this swim was only about 350 yards. T1, I was pleased with my transition for the first time out. I'm not sure where or how I could really improve much right now, just the basic do it again in a race setting, and again and again and again, as I did. The bike. Definitely better than anticipated. I was nervous about the hills. Some things never change, but I think I handled them very well considering there's not a lot of hills to practice. Kept a good pace throughout. What could I do better? Practice more hills. T2. I came into T2 and went through the men's racks before getting to the women's. Apparently we were sequestered on our own sides back then. Probably didn't cost me too much time, but I should have been more aware. What would I do differently? Pay attention and focus. Again, I still think I could probably improve on that. Made it to the run. I felt like I did better than the time showed. Slower pacing than I'd hoped for, but I also have to consider, guess what? Those hills. I have not run or trained on any hills, so that was a different experience. Taking the last hill coming to the finish was a challenge. This is a 2-mile run, by the way. I tried to push down the final stretch, but my heart rate was redlining and I was wheezing a little bit, so I just maintained my pace. What would you do differently? Run hills, run more, run longer. Well, I think I'm doing good on that 15 years later. Post-race warm down, nothing really. Ate some fruit, drank some water, had a massage. I don't even remember that. What limited your ability to perform faster? Experience, and I probably should have been training longer distances in training. I think the training plan I used wasn't as intense as I needed, and at the point, I still needed to lose about 15 more pounds to get a comfortable racing weight. Overall, how did I do for a 328-yard swim based on the Garmin? It took me 7 minutes and 32 seconds for a whopping pace of 2 minutes, 18 seconds per 100 yards. Oops. T1, 2 minutes, 50 seconds. Not bad, but also it was a sprint. Maybe I did get cost 30 seconds coming out of the water. The bike, how did I do? Well, for 11.1 miles, I took 44 minutes and 28 seconds for an average of 14.98 miles per hour. T2, 131, hey, not too bad there. And then running for a total of 2 miles, it took me 23 minutes for an 11:30 pace. It was a good time. It led to many great things, great memories, and so much more to come. But we all have to start somewhere. We all have to be humbled at some point. And the Rookie Tri in 2009 was my starting point, was my humble moment. And I'm going strong at 15 years. I can't wait to see what the 15th year brings. Still need to finalize the race schedule and look ahead, but I know will be exciting, and I can't wait to share it with the triathlon community.